This is part 2 of a 2-part interview with Lee Gillis. The interview was conducted on November 7th, 2008 in Vancouver, Washington.
My answer just came to me. My frustration, even now, is in teaching a course in the therapeutic use of adventure, is to be still looking at recommendations that I was making, even in '92, when I first kind of looked at the field. It's like, here's what needs to happen, and kind of being able to, tick off a few of the things that have happened, but so much of what's not happened. And having this fantasy that the internet and the availability of information, just at click, and the information is there, was going to move the field beyond navel gazing and replications of the same studies, that it would move things forward. And so a sad part for me is that even today, I can count the researchers in the therapeutic adventure field. I can use my one hand, and unfortunately I can't even use all my fingers to talk about who are doing those things. I really thought that things would be so much further along in terms of research and evaluation and what's going on. I was impressed that in the last year you call out for researchers and evaluators or practitioners interested, and now you're seeing a lot of folks gather, kind of wonder where they would be on, sort of Kohlberg's list of moral development. Is it the bottom line dollar that's getting some people there, as opposed to this curiosity, what's going on in the field and how can we move things forward, instead of it just feels too often like we're going round and round in circles, which gives us the illusion of movement.
Yeah.
But we're not moving forward at all. So
yeah.
That's kind of where that's my little soapbox on research.
Well,
much like Dan's is just to connect and to sit and be in the same space with just people that I cherish. And there's that piece about giving back, because I feel like I have been given so much. I mean, to sit down with Carl Ronke yesterday, or day before yesterday when he was doing the pre-conference, for 30 minutes is priceless for me. I mean, this man has so much impact on my whole career. His friendship, his humor, his creativity. I mean, it's incredible, the amount. I mean, you could see the kind of the emotion there of how much impact. And if I could give an ounce of that back to somebody else by being available. And there's this piece about, listening to the master's student or the doctoral student who has this great idea for a research project, and listening and trying to give them some feedback or to push them on, as Rocky kind of pushed me to. I feel like I owe that by being here and making myself available to those students and to have those conversations. Because I've gotten so much from being here, and it's just, I think Dan's right. We have to keep showing up, and even try to offer some workshops. We offered, Mike and I did the 10th supervision workshop, and I've been so amazed that we got to 10, but that people continued to come back over and over and over and learn something and take a process and put it in practice. The other thing that I really like, and Steve Pace and I have some kind of fun with this, I think, at times, is that I love pushing people into leadership roles, either by what I watched when I became involved on the board, is that I removed myself from my professional and regional group, because you can't do everything, and other people had to stand up. So just by leaving, other people had to fill the void. So I think that's been real good. But even being in situations where, I have a student who's a graduate student of mine at the time, and I volunteer him to run a regional conference knowing he's going to be out the next year, and he's caught in a bind, and he's upset with me. But Trey Fouché, he comes through. Now he's going on the accreditation council. He's just stepped into all these leadership roles, and it's just that sense of just kind of pushing somebody a little bit, and they take it from there, because and all the leadership skills that people learn from being involved in this organization. And so often, as much so I think, like you said, Steve, where you're asked to step forward and do something, and you're like, me? And then you're looking around, and there's nobody else, and you try it, and you learn from it, and you reflect on it, and you change things, and you move on, and you get better at it. And I think that's just a wonderful piece. I think when we are at our best in this organization is when we practice what we preach. Yeah. When we do the whole cycle, including reflection, and we change things, and we learn from it, and we move forward. I think that is where we are at our best. It's the when we just navel gaze or just criticize is where we're at our worst.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, no, for me it's home. I think being here is home in a lot of ways. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. That's been great. Anything you want to add for the good of the order at this point?
Well, just sitting by this man, Dan Garvey, who I admire so much, that I just want to say and have him here, because I quote you a lot. One of your, I guess, many keynote rounds, but it was in the Southeast. We were in Winston-Salem. I can't even remember what year, but it doesn't matter. But this is one of the things you may or may not remember. But one of the things you said, Dan, was to people in this field, it's been so important that I've passed on, is that if the only feedback that you believe about your abilities as a facilitator comes from the people that are in the groups that you run, you are a fool. And I can remember so clearly the way, Dan, you called people out, because of seeing these kind of pumped up egos of some of the people in our field who see themselves as so important in that sense, because they get no other feedback. And Dan added to this the idea that if you don't have people in your life, or at least one person, who will truly be honest with you,
call you on your shit.
And call you. And you can say, and I've taken that to heart, Dan. To be able to have a couple of people that I can go in and shut the door and say, am I an idiot for thinking the following? And and to have somebody say, that's pretty idiotic. And I go, thank you, that's all I needed. I'll move on now. Or to say, no, I think what you're talking about makes some sense. Okay, I just needed a reality check. And I owe you, Dan, tremendously for just those pearls of wisdom. And I have passed those on and on and on.